Good day, folks. Back after a long sojourn. This is Bob with News with Views. Today, it's about history that's come a full circle. And the history is about the possibility of a new relationship between the United Kingdom and India, one of its largest components of its empire earlier. One of the most critical components of its empire that I think provided all the foot soldiers in World War I, World War II, besides the economic impetus that the Britain needed in those days. However, this relationship has not achieved its full potential. A lot of it has to do with the distrust between the two, and a lot of it, in my opinion, because I've worked and lived in the United Kingdom, actually was, in my view, not our colonial hangover, but moreover their loss of the colony hangover as far as Britain was concerned. And a lot had to do with, the Pakistani population in the United Kingdom. And a lot had to do with the fact that they felt that while they could control Pakistan, which they eventually actually didn't, and not control India, so they obviously played a dubious game as far, and they didn't give India any absolutely no bandwidth at all. What is this? But however, at the end of the day, it's really difficult to decouple our history from that of the UK because of what I've just said, right? Geography also, at the end of the day, you got McMahon Line, you got Radcliffe Line, you got Durand Lines all over the place. The problem with Tibet, all over the place, you can see the British imprint on there, right? But the three main events that have happened recently, obviously, I think are going to have provided the necessary gap for India to improve its relationship and for the United Kingdom to step forward. And the three main events, in my opinion, were: one is greater appreciation of the destructive nature of Islamic extremism, and they figured out what Pakistan's dubious intent. The other is Brexit, because now they need a big economic support. And third, I think the biggest impetus was smack on the face with what I say, the way China dumped the treaty on Hong Kong, right? So as this article says, right, equal partner, shedding the colonial baggage, Delhi and London are set for a fresh start. While India's partnership with many Western countries, including the US and France, historically far less connected to India than Britain, have surged, the ties between Delhi and London continue to stagnate. That's quite true. He says Britain's diplomatic activism on Kashmir questions, some of it driven by Pakistani diaspora in the UK, was for India an unacceptable intervention in its internal affairs. London's Nelson eye to Pakistan's support of religious extremism, terrorism and anti-India groups on Britain's soil made matters worse. That's exactly what I've said, right? But realists in the Narendra Modi government began to ask an important question. If India could transcend the Pakistan factor in its engagement with the United States and the Gulf, why can't it be done with Britain, right? They noted Britain's place as the world's fifth largest economy, London's role as a major financial center, UK's deep strength on a range of technologies, including artificial intelligence, biotech, rich scientific and educational resources, and enduring diplomatic influence in distant corners of the world, including in the Indian Ocean. Put simply, the theory of the realist case was that a deep partnership with Britain was both possible and valuable. I'm also beginning to think, because I never thought of them very highly under Theresa May or under David Cameron, right? Because I thought David Cameron was just overly bum chum with China and was overlooking many things, right? As Delhi made a determined bid to find a fix for the British question, London too was compelled to take a fresh look at Delhi. As Britain prepared to disconnect from the European Union, ended the infatuation with China, and sought to recalibrate its foreign and economic policies, India inevitably loomed as a natural partner. More immediately, London began to show greater sensitivity to Delhi's security concerns and set the stage for a new beginning, right? What does Sachin Prashar have to write? Boris to be chief guest on Republic Day, India-UK boost ties. I think that could unlock huge opportunities for British and Indian businesses, lowering barriers in areas like food and drink, healthcare and life sciences, IT, data, chemicals and financial services. I think there are some exciting possibilities. I actually want India to create an agricultural bubble with the United Kingdom. With the source of fresh fruits and vegetables now with European Union, which was the source, being under stress, India can actually take its place if it creates an air bubble which ensures speedy and the sea bubble, which ensures speedy and delivery of fresh fruits and vegetables. And good for the Punjab farm. And what do we have here? What does Avinash Paliwal write? India is right to bet on a post-Brexit UK. I think so, right? Now, the invite to Boris Johnson indicates deepening strategic and economic convergence. What does it say? For decades, India-UK relations remained suboptimal. We all know that. And it was in India, London's motivations were incorrectly viewed. I don't know whether they were incorrectly viewed. I think they were correctly viewed. Then, obviously, we dumped the UK Eurofighter for Dassault. That was a big problem. But I think we really need to get into the UK Eurofighter supply chain. Right? Important. It's all about building our own industry, and that's going to probably do well with having 2 or 3 platforms. If we can't buy it, we should lease the UK Eurofighter. It says, and finally, what is improved is finally there has been a shift away from making this relationship hostage to the Pakistan question. Yeah, that's the most important part, I think, right? And let's say what it says. Bet on trade. Johnson's Republic Day visit should be used to launch India-UK ties in a post-COVID, post-Brexit era. Absolutely right. Last, RAB listed an enhanced trade partnership next year and a future FTA as a top priority. I think it's really important, right? Therefore, personal relationship without an economic ballast risk becoming transient, the equivalent of icing without. That's right, it's important. Therefore, personal, it says, in this regard, the UK's economy taking a big hit due to the pandemic and bracing for Brexit's impact, London is looking to ties with Delhi to offset the double blows. There already exist many areas of strong cooperation between the two sides, as exemplified by the partnership between Oxford University, AstraZeneca and Serum Institute to produce a COVID vaccine. But more can be done in IT, financial services, manufacturing, climate change, green technology, all ready for harvesting. Plus, the Johnson administration has been willing to take a more proactive approach to the Indo-Pacific. That's also strategic too, right? He says basically, China's draconian national security law affecting Hong Kong and ending the one country, two systems understanding with the UK, as well as London's move to effectively shut out Huawei from its 5G networks, have put an end to London's tendency to flirt with Beijing. And India needs now to be the fair maiden. Both India and UK have been affected by terrorism too, right? And now finally what's coming out by Naomi Canton. UK views India as a key partner post-Brexit, right? We are going to be, right? For many reasons. But we have to increase our defense ties. We have to increase our economic linkages. And what does it say here? UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson's acceptance of Prime Minister Modi's invitation to be guest of honor at India's Republic Day is a significant move demonstrating that Britain views India as a key strategic partner in a post-Brexit, post-pandemic world. The trip will be UK PM's first major bilateral visit since taking office, the first since the UK's departure from the EU on January 31st, and the first since the end of transition period. All right. And that's an important message. As a key player in the Indo-Pacific region, India is an increasingly indispensable partner for the UK as we work to boost jobs and growth, confront shared threats to our security, and protect our planet. In 2021, the UK will host G7 leaders meeting and COP26 summit. And in both these cases, the G7, there are 3 guests: South Korea, Australia, and India, folks. And last but not the least, what does Razul Laskar write? India, UK discuss 10-year roadmap to boost ties. Okay. He says, challenges and shared opportunities across the Indo-Pacific. RAB and Britain's upcoming integrated strategic review will contain an Indo-Pacific tilt, and there is no stronger partner in the East than India. Tuesday's 4-hour-long talks between the foreign ministries said basically the 5 areas connecting people: trade, defense and security, climate change and health. And the two sides also discussed the situation. Well, okay. And important roles to play together in Afghanistan and the Middle East. We agreed on key elements for a 10-year UK-India roadmap. So important. I think the United Kingdom and India, not only, it shouldn't end there. It should be the entire Commonwealth, at least the 5-eye Commonwealth, which is New Zealand, Australia, and Canada. India now needs to use the UK heft to get into the Commonwealth a lot more actively, folks. It will only pay us back strategically. It will also pay us back to counter China. It will also pay us back economically. Cheers. More after the break. Welcome back, folks. Concluding now on the importance of now in the scheme of things for the United Kingdom and India relationships. Obviously, one of the critical parts is the Indo-Pacific. As Zol H. Laskar writes, Indo-Pacific tilt aimed at managing China-linked issues, UK Foreign Secretary. One must remember, I had pointed this out earlier, right? The United Kingdom has important linkages and history in this region, right? If you remember in the 60s, I think under the aegis of the Commonwealth, the UK had pulled together the largest flotilla ever put together in the United Kingdom, in the Indian Ocean. That included, of course, ships from Pakistan. But this is going to be a really interesting play. With the UK now having an Indo-Pacific tilt with India as a fulcrum, Pakistan clearly in the camp of China, and with all the ports and all the exercises conduct, this is going to be friction big time. Interesting times, folks. Here's another small article. Maritime Theatre commands HQ to be at Karwar. And where's Karwar? Karwar is in Karnataka. Why Karnataka? I'm not so sure. Andhra Pradesh already has a huge port. But I would have thought the best place for this command is in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. The other exciting news, folks, is Tata Maharaja has a pragmatism, has allowed Air India's disinvestment to take off. Finally, the drawn-out strategic disinvestment of Air India appears likely to happen. The government announced this week that it has received multiple expressions of interest for the airline. It will now take the transaction to the next stage. Fantastic. I've always said, Air India must be viewed in terms of a strategic sale. And where does strategic sale actually fit in? Is a combination if it sells to a Tata and a Singapore Airline combination. So that's, it should not be purely driven by financials, as I'll tell you how and why. It says Air India's strategic sale, Tata's others submit EOIs. It says the Tata Group was among the multiple interested parties that submitted expression of interest EOIs for Air India. A response that's important, right? What are the positives? Like global and domestic network and slots at busy airports such as Mumbai, Heathrow, New York. It has 153 aircraft, fleet 87 owned by the airline, internationally renowned brand. It may have taken a dive, but it's still there. And can it soar again? Absolutely. It needs, obviously, as Sanjeev Kapoor, right? It needs funding, okay. It needs fleet renewal. Not only renewal, it needs rationalization. Then management obviously needs to be changed and become professional. Then you have the board of directors is another thing that needs to get professional. There has to be a massive cultural change, which with the government totally told to keep its hands off, and there are a number of confidence building measures that are required. Okay, and then there was this interesting article. Like I said, it should be a strategic investment to a person and an organization that can create value, and where it also fits into the strategic, into the please quote unquote. This sale not only is critically strategic for India because this is a strategic sector for India, it should be sold to a carrier of a nation in combination with Tata's, to a nation where India it serves as a strategic partner to that nation. And Singapore is just right up there. So when you hear something like this, AI or not, interrupts plans to invest 9 billion in Indian aviation, you have to worry. You cannot sell it to guys like Interrupts. And why can't you sell it to guys like Interrupts? Is right here. CA insurance agent, now Air India bidder. A trail of many questions. And this is Lakshmi Prasad Palayappu, chairman of US-based Interrupts Incorporated, who has made a series of acquisition bids through the NCLT this year and recently submitted an expression of interest for Air India and Air India's disinvestment. Says he plans to invest around 9 billion in the Indian aviation sector. A scrutiny of the deals the company claims to be pursuing in India, however, shows a patchy, if not a poor. So we cannot sell it to dubious characters like this without a track record. It is critical, whoever we sell it, one of the conditions has to be, firstly, it's a strategic sale. Secondly, the person has to have the wherewithal and ability to run an airline, folks. Jai Hind.